My wife gained 50 pounds after giving birth. I do not want to have sex with her because I am not attracted to fat women. How do I tell my wife that she has let herself go? This is the first story we're going to be talking about on the show today. And it's a very interesting one because I know that this is the reality for so many couples. Plus, later on the show, we talk about the overcrowded boats in Greece carrying over 700 migrants left to drown. We also talk about the rise of independent, unmarried women choosing to have kids on their own. And lastly, we wrap up the month of June by spotlighting two incredible men in South Africa because men, this is your month. We want to make sure that we are showcasing the men that are doing great things in their community to support the boy child. All of this and more on the Lolo Cynthia show today. Let's get into it. So there is a relationship dilemma that has been floating on the internet. A man sent a message to this column on the Daily Mail in the UK called Dear Jane. It's their version of the agony aunt, talking about how his wife has added so much weight since she gave birth and he doesn't know how to tell her that she has let herself go. Let's take a look at the post. It says, Dear Jane, my wife and I had our first baby 2 years ago, and since she gave birth, our sex life has been, well, non-existent. Initially, I wanted to give her time after the pregnancy and the birth to feel comfortable with intimacy again. But when she told me she was ready to try and get back to our sex life pre-baby, I found myself struggling because I don't feel attracted to her anymore. I love my wife, but she's kind of let herself go since she had our son. Obviously, weight gain during pregnancy is unavoidable, but it felt like she no longer cared about what she looked like during that time. She stopped wearing makeup, she started eating a lot of junk, and those habits haven't really changed since our little boy was born. She told me the other day that she gained 50 pounds since her pre-baby days, and the awful truth is that I just don't find larger women attractive. I fell for my wife because she was slim and athletic. She took such pride in her body and fitness, and now that woman appears to have disappeared forever. Now when she wants to have sex, I find myself making excuses because quite frankly, I just don't want to. I don't know how to tell her that she doesn't do it for me anymore. She's a wonderful mother to our son, and I admire that so much about her. But I think that sex is a really important part of any marriage, and I can't see myself going on like this for much longer. How can I be honest with her without her hating me? This is from Weighed Down. When I shared the story with my team, the first thing they said was that man is so cruel. Based on that response, you automatically know it's a woman that just responded because it echoed the same sentiments that I saw a lot of women sharing online. But women, if we're being honest, we know physical attraction, sexual attraction is a very important aspect in a relationship. And weight loss or even weight gain can affect the way we feel towards our partner. So the idea that this man is cruel, I think it's very unfair. And it's almost a form of gaslighting when we as a society tell men not to speak about the fact that a woman has gone through changes and it might have affected the way they feel about them, physically or sexually. So that's one aspect that I really want to bring on the table. However, with this case, it's not like this woman just woke up after marriage and she's like, you know what, I'm just going to sit on the couch, eat all this junk food, not take care of myself. She is a new mother. And based on what this man said, I can hear that this is a woman that is a great mother. He even says he admires her. She has given so much of herself to this child. If you talk to any new mother, they tell you that this new responsibility takes a lot from a person, especially if you don't have childcare support. So it's very easy to understand why she lost herself. And now you talk about how she used to be slim, she used to be athletic, she used to do her makeup, eat healthy. She's no longer doing those things that gave her joy. That's actually a form of self-care. And that is something that should send a signal to you that this woman is stressed. I use myself as an example. Let me tell you guys, when I'm stressed, the amount of weight that I gain, let me not just have money for 1 week. The way I blow up, I can bite anybody that is beside me. So the issue around weight gain is never really black or white. Even some women add weight when they go on birth control. So I hope men are recognizing that, weight gain, weight loss sometimes isn't because someone is eating junk. The second aspect here is, I'm going to reach out to this man and say, or whoever, because this is not an isolated case. We know a lot of men are going through this as well. And I see a lot of posts around why this is why they are cheating now. I asked the man, what are you doing to support your wife at home? Your wife is extremely stressed. So it means you need to take up some extra responsibilities in the house so she has time to take care of herself. So she has time to remember who she used to be pre the baby. And that means you are taking care of that baby, you are cooking in the house, you are taking care of certain emotional labors. Because sometimes it's not just the physical. Have you ever had to think about what someone is eating, what they need in the house? This woman is doing that for a newborn baby. She's doing that for her husband, which, if we're being honest, is a second child. She's doing that for herself. And if you look at the list in terms of hierarchies for women like that, they put themselves at the last of the list. And by the time they get to themselves, they are exhausted. So as a husband and father, you need to step up and take up those responsibilities so you give your wife the ability to breathe. You need to step up so that during the weekend you can plan a spa vacation for your wife and her friends. So she has time to pour back into herself. Another thing that you should do is you need to remember the things that you love about your wife. You spoke about how she's a great mother. Have you ever complimented her on that? Or do you just assume that she should know that she's a great mother? These are the things that allow women recognize that they themselves are visible. A woman who just gave birth, they are dealing with a lot of insecurities. The first thing is that woman that added weight. You think she doesn't know she added weight? She knows she added weight. She's unhappy with the way she feels. Most times women give birth and the internal critic in our head, or in their heads, not mine, in their heads tell them that they are no longer beautiful. They are no longer attractive. They've added so much weight. Their husband is probably looking somewhere else. So as a partner, you do not want to reaffirm those voices in their head. You want to make sure you're countering whatever is going on in their head. So what you can do is, have you bought her a new outfit recently? I'm not talking about buying her a new outfit in her old size. Have you bought her a new outfit in her new size? Have you planned a date for her? Have you been intimate with her? And I'm not talking sex. Holding hands, cuddling, gentle kisses, hugging, the things that you used to do in the past that made her feel safe, that made her feel good. Are you still doing those things? Because what we are trying to get to is to a place where this woman gets back to feeling good about herself, get back to pouring back into herself. So as a husband and as a father, I'm going to challenge you to take up these things to meet her halfway or meet her where she is at the moment before you even bring up the conversation around talking about her weight. Because I personally, there's nothing I cannot talk about to anybody, regardless of how people feel like, oh, that's weird or that's inappropriate. No, for me, I believe empathy, intent, and trust is very important. So if you're someone that, your wife trusts you, your wife loves you, she knows that if you bring up this conversation around, how do you feel about this weight gain? She doesn't believe that you're doing it from a malicious place. So as a husband, you can bring up this conversation after. And as you're bringing it up, you're talking about support. Let's go on walks together. Oh, I'm going to cook on Thursdays and Fridays and it's going to be the healthy food. Or let's go to the gym together. Both of you get on this weight loss journey together. And for her, it's very important for her to see that her husband is supporting her in this journey towards her finding herself again. Do not tell her, I'm no longer attracted to you because you're fat. Don't even dare do that, because you don't want her to have that recording somewhere in her head that she can play over and over and over again. Do not do that. And as we close off this story, men, I'm going to tell you that you have to be very honest as well. You have to be very realistic. It is very possible that she might never get back to who she used to be before the baby, because pregnancy does things to different women. As long as she's feeling good, she's being active, she's taking care of herself, that's really what's very important. Do not get carried away by this snapback culture that we see online. Someone gives birth in a year, the 6 packs is back. That's not the reality for so many women. So husbands, it might seem in quote unfair because your need of physical attraction or sexual attraction towards your wife might have depreciated because she doesn't look like the way she used to look like when you guys met. But this woman she went through a miracle. She gave birth to your child. Her body went through those changes to give birth to her child and your child as well. So meet her where she is, recognize the reality on ground, readjust, Find out the other things that you love about her. Make sure she's feeling good. Make sure she's feeling healthy. Make sure she's feeling great about herself. And you would get the best version of your wife again. That's my opinion on the story, but I want to hear what you have to say. Do you think that it's cruel for a man to tell his wife that, listen, you've added so much weight and listen. You ain't that hot anymore, boo. What are you going to do about this flapping tummy? Do you think it's cruel for a man to ever talk about that? Let me hear your opinion and we'll be right back. The conversation around if Greece purposely let an overcrowded boat drown has been all over the news. So this boat was carrying, refugees, over 700 from countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Libya, Egypt, and Syria. Let's take a look at the news and we'll talk right after.
How many people were on this fishing boat? Survivors have suggested as many as 750 were packed on, including up to 100 children. It took less than 15 minutes to sink completely, now one of Greece's biggest ever migrant tragedies.
One of the people we spoke to talked about 100 young people, mostly teenagers and mostly from Syria. Somebody else we spoke to talked about even younger children, 3, 4, 5 years old. And apparently there were 6 Syrian mothers accompanying some of those children. Others were traveling with cousins, uncles, and fathers. As you know, only men survived this wreck, presumably because the women and children were, as has now been confirmed to us, below decks.
With scores dead and missing, the public is asking, why didn't anyone interfere sooner?
Why didn't anyone interfere sooner? When we talk about issues around migration, refugees, and Europe, many times people do not like to be honest. It's a very simple answer. It is because the lives of the people on board do not have value to the Europeans. Why? Because the value of your life is closely associated to the nationality. Look at the people on the boat. We're talking about Afghanistan. We're talking about Pakistan. We're talking about Syria, Libya, Egypt. The Europeans don't want you guys in their country. And when you look at your government, these are countries where even the government themselves don't care about the citizens. So if your government don't care about the citizen, you send a message to the international community that they shouldn't care about you as well. And if we're going to even say the quiet part out loud, many countries are afraid of letting in refugees from predominantly Muslim countries. I'm going to say it. It is the truth. Why? Because people are afraid of extreme Islamic views. Now let's look at like Syria or Afghanistan. What's going on in Afghanistan is that the Taliban has taken over. And these are people with extremist, Islamic views. And it feels like a bit of a catch-22 because the reason these women, men, brothers, sons are running from places like that, like Afghanistan, Syria, and the rest, is because of Islamic extremist views or extreme Islamic views. They are going to a country where they feel like it's a bit sane. But these countries that they are going to tell them, we can't let you in because you might be coming in with these views that you're running away from. It is very, very tragic to see this play out in the public. Over 700 people on a boat and maybe only 100 people were rescued. No women, no children. That is so, so tragic. But historically, we know that the Europeans or even the Western countries do not like to take refugees from certain continents. And here we're talking about Middle East and Africa. Because when you look at what happened during Ukraine, the Ukraine-Russian war, I have never in my life seen people so eager to host refugees. I have a friend who works in Germany and she works with refugees and she tells me, the people from Ukraine, before they were, put in a different place, they hosted them in hotels, 3-4-star hotels. And I'm like, what? The African brothers, African sisters that have been going through the Mediterranean Sea, that have been trying to escape war, trying to escape economic hardship in their countries, are never treated that way. And it's really because even the government themselves, African governments do not care. I don't like the idea of always pointing fingers at the West and saying, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? We need to bring that energy down here. We need to bring it back into our continent. We need to bring it back to our leaders. And when I think about this story, I marvel at the fact that it has gotten all this media frenzy. The UN is all up in arms. carrying out like PR, press release, what's going on? We need to get to the bottom of it. Let me tell you, do you know that if we had majority of Africans on that boat, do you think there would be this much media frenzy? Absolutely not. Why? Because even the African government will not come out to fight for their citizens that perished. In Pakistan, it was reported that 106 people were dead due to this boat drowning. And the Prime Minister in Pakistan declared a day of mourning. In Nigeria, 2 weeks ago, 104 people died because of a boat accident. Have you heard anything? Have you? No. You can't hear anything. Life goes on. Because in places like that, the idea is that poor people die every day. It is so terrible that this is the reality on ground. I tried to do a research to see how many national publications actually reported the story. I searched up until page 10 and I just stopped. I'm exhausted now. Only one national publication was on the first 10 pages and they were on page 4. That is Premium Times. Damn, even Fox News, that we know how they behave and think about blacks and immigrants, reported this story. This sends a huge message to us as Africans, because I like to bring it back here, that if something happens to us, if people die back to back, our own government will not care, because to them, our deaths, our lives are dispensable. So we really need to stop pointing fingers at the West to recognize that the value of your life to the Westerners, to the international world, depends on your nationality and the way even your governments at home, value your own life. But before we go to the next story, I'm going to play the video of the Nigerian accident because I want you to be informed as well. We'll be right back.
Begin with breaking news out of Nigeria, where at least 100 people are feared dead after a boat capsized. It happened on the Niger River between Niger and Kwara states. Witnesses say the vessel was carrying people returning from a wedding ceremony in Niger state.
More than 72 hours since this accident, the locals here where this accident happened are telling us that no official has arrived at the scene yet. So what they're doing is that they have deployed their own resources, the little resources they have, to try to pull up the boat and see whether or not there are more bodies that are under the water. You're talking about nearly 10% of the population has been wiped off by this accident. And in one house close to where we were, at least 18 members of that family have perished in the boat accident.
In a recent interview, A-list star Nollywood actress Iniedo opened up about being a solo mother. This has ushered in the questions around Nigeria that is it right, is it ethical for single, unmarried, independent women to choose to have kids on their own? Let's take a look at her interview and we will talk right after.
I don't have a husband, so I'm like, I want a child for myself, whether I have a husband or not. So what other option could I have? And I wanted it to be my child, my egg. She's barely 2.
Right.
She'll be 2 she'll be 2 in a couple of weeks.
Right.
Actually.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm like, why didn't I do this since?
Yeah. Why didn't you? I love
do
that.
this since?
Why
Yes.
didn't you do this?
So before I discuss any story on this platform, I actually like to get opinions from different people and from very unlikely people. So this story, I shared it with my housekeeper just to ask her, like, what do you think? She was like, what? No, that's not right. A woman must have a husband. What is she going to tell that child when the child starts asking about who's the father? Hey, look, I did not expect anything more. She's a very conservative, very traditional woman. And it's funny because this also echoed the sentiments all around. Like, you go on the comment section of where this video was posted and a lot of men, a lot of women talking about this cannot be my portion. Like, this is just not right. You need to have a partner. Listen. Why must a woman kill herself waiting for Mr. Right? We live in the 21st century. If you are financially capable, if you are emotionally mature, if you are at a certain age where you know you can take care of a child and you have always wanted to become a mother, but you don't have a partner, I don't see why you need to wait for that. I know that naturally, in quotes, in the culture, it's meant to be you get married and you have a child, but things are evolving, And see, if I wanted to have kids, because I don't want to have kids, that's probably the route I would take. Let me tell you, like, I hate stress. So there will be something that it would give me control over the way I take care of my child. And listen, where we live in right now, women who are in their 40s or late 30s that are unmarried but want to have kids, if they don't have a child at the moment, it makes dating very difficult. They become very desperate because they're just thinking about the fact that they need to have that child. And let me tell you, women, let me tell you, so many men, so many men actually hunt for women like that because they believe that these women are desperate and they are willing to do anything because they know that they want a child. So I love that this has empowered women. I love that a woman being financially stable has given her the strength, has given her the courage to say, I want to do motherhood. You know, I've always known that I was going to be a mother and I don't need to wait for a man before I can become a mother. And truthfully, family can mean different things. My housekeeper is, where's her father? What's she going to tell the girl that her father came from? You know, who's going to where's the male involvement? That's not a real family. No. Family doesn't always have to be man, woman, and kids. It could just be the woman and her kids. It could be the father and his kids. It could be a child, mother, and grandmother and grandfather. Like, there's so many ways that a family can come into existence. So this is really my idea around this, because let me tell you, if we're being honest, there's so many single mothers that are in marriages. Oh yes, you're married, your husband is on the chair eating dinner. But in your head, you're a single mother because you're carrying all the burden. And I tell you, many of these women would rather be alone than have to deal with the burden of a man that just weighs them down. And you know, even single women who are fighting with their baby daddies for financial support, so many of them would rather not engage in that back and forth, but it's because they don't have the financial ability. They are not financially independent to be able to take care of that child, so they still go through that back and forth. Women now have the empowerment. Women are now empowered, rather, to choose and decide what they want to do. And I'm not even looking at it only through the lens of women. I think it's a beautiful thing if a man says, you know what, I don't want to get married, but I've always dreamt of being a father. And he has his own child and he's a single father and he's taking care of that child. Have you ever met a child that was chosen? Like, I chose you. I wanted you. The kind of life they live, the kind of confidence they have, the kind of aura they have, knowing that they were loved, they were wanted, they were brought into this earth because it was something I desired. They move differently. So this is the way I think about it. And in regards to male involvement, like, where's the father? I personally believe it's important for, whether it's a boy or a girl, to have male influence, healthy male influence. As a boy, you want to know what it's like to be a good man, a healthy man. As a woman as well, as a girl, you want to know what it's like to know, you want to know what a good man looks like, what to look for as you go through life, how to navigate, you know, the gender dynamic as you go through life, whether in relationships, romantic or platonic as well. And I don't think that person needs to be biological. You can have male involvement that is your grandfather, that is the uncle, that is the brother. As long as this is someone you trust, this is someone that has healthy skill set that you can bring into a home. But I don't believe this person needs to be your biological father, because truthfully, see, even some biological fathers are the ones damaging their kids. If nobody's going to say, let us say the truth. So there are many ways that, again, a family can look like. So really, this is my own 2 cents on the issue, but I want to hear what you have to say. Are independent, unmarried women having kids on their own just a taboo? Like, is this why women should not have too much money? This is why some men are saying, or are you just like me who believes that it's normal, it's okay? Why are you bothered? Because not everyone would choose this path. So just choose your own path. As long as, again, you have a community, you have a village, because it does take a village to raise a child. You are emotionally stable. You have the finances, because that money is a very important aspect. And you can do what you want to do. I want to hear what you have to say in the comment section. We'll be right back. What about the boy child? What about the boy child? What about the boy child? Everywhere I go, men are always asking me, what about the boy child? Most times when they ask me these questions, it's because they're trying to push the emotional labor to me for me to step up and start doing something about the boy child. Well, this month of June, which is Men's Month, we have Father's Day, we have Men's Mental Health Month, which is this June. I want to spotlight 2 men that ask that same question. What about the boys? But instead of looking at women and say, what can a woman do for us? They say, no, what about me? What can I do for the boy children in my community? Today, we're spotlighting 2 men from South Africa that are doing incredible things supporting the boy child and active fatherhood. The first one is Mr. Niwe Mutopeng. He is the founder of Daddy Awards South Africa, that is organized to celebrate good fathers and also encourage active and positive fatherhood. What I really admired were the categories introduced in the caption, from single dads to special needs dads of the year and many more. You can learn more about this award on their site. It's called daddyawardsoutafrica.co.za. Incredible, incredible, incredible work. The second one that we have, another South African man that just really deserves his flowers, is Mr. Nkosinati Mushwana. Together with like-minded mans, he started a program called What About the Boys, right? I love the name as well, which is targeted towards boys between the ages of 14 to 20 to help them redefine masculinity and stop gender-based violence. I was very intrigued by this program because he shared in an interview that when this movement started, they would always carry out pre-survey to test the behaviors, attitudes, and perception of boys regarding gender-based violence. And this is what they found. They said that 20% of the boys agreed that it's okay to hit women from time to time. Another 25% rather said that rape is okay. And then the most shocking of them all to me, which screams that we have a crisis on our hands, it says that 70% of men, 70% of boys depend on drugs to survive in the harsh world. It is very, very scary. Well, after their program, they've seen a decline in these rates, and they've been able to reach 15,000 boys nationwide. You can learn more about them by going to their website. It's called primestars.co.za. It's probably on the screen right now, and you can go check it out. Thank you so much to this incredible man. I love it when men, take up the mantra, take up the baton, and actually go into their community to ensure that the boy child is protected. Well, this brings us to the end of the show today. Thank you so much to everyone who watched the first episode and supported through likes, shares, comments. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed the second episode of the show. I cannot wait to dive into more stories as we go into the year, because this is going to be a long time thing. If you see stories that you really like and you want me to share on my platform, do not forget to tag me. LOLO_CY on all social media platforms. And again, I might share the story that you're passionate about on my platform. Thank you so much for watching today's show, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.